We're here today to introduce MBA Admit. Our team members are Kate Pelagero, Jake Lee, Brian McKinney, Amit Patel, and Talbert Thomas. As any current MBA student can attest, applying to MBA school is a time-consuming and arduous task. The internet is filled with information on business schools, from student forums to national rankings. In addition, each school's website contains vast amounts of information. A prospective student can easily become overwhelmed and fall into analysis paralysis. Our decision support system is designed to help the student make an informed decision. Although each student is unique, there are certain variables that most students universally consider when evaluating business school programs. Some of those variables are geographic location, program cost, enrollment size, high average starting salary, and a high percentage of full-time students employed at graduation. Comparing just these variables against the top 25 schools in absolute terms is a daunting task. If subjective weights are added to the student's preferences, the comparison becomes exponentially more complex. The decision support system that we develop will adequately address this complexity. So now we'll go into the tool. We have 3 buttons on the intro page. We have an About the tool, which tells you a little bit about the mechanics of what this tool is supposed to do. Read that. We have a disclaimer that simply says there are a lot of different factors that aren't included in this model when deciding what school a student wants to apply to, or what the probability of that school accepting the student. So that's just the disclaimer. And now we'll go into the analysis. So start the analysis. It asks you for weights. So these are the variables upon which we'll decide what type of school, which school the student prefers. So for location, we'll say, and you must enter a number, or you get that error screen. So let's say out of 100 points, we give location 30. We give tuition 20. We don't care that much about enrollment size, so we give it 10. High average starting salary, we can give that 20. And let's say high percentage of students employed at graduation, we give that another 20. Just to check to make sure this sum equals 100, hit the calculate sum button. Okay, now we're ready to go. Once you hit OK, it takes you to the preferences screen. Now, as you can see, the weights that we just entered on that dialog box flow into this preference screen. So within location, you gave that a 30% weight, and let's say we prefer Northeast schools over most of the other ones. We kind of like Southeast schools. These are all relative weightings, so we can use these scroll bars. Midwest, we don't really care for the South or the West, so we leave that. 25% weight towards program tuition. We assume that the user would want a lower school tuition, so that's a factor. We go down to enrollment size, and let's say that we want a small school, like an Emory. As you can see on this chart on the right, it's dynamic and it moves as we move the scroll bars to tell us what schools we prefer the most. So right now it looks like we prefer UVA, Minnesota, and Emory, and Harvard, given our preferences. But we're not finished yet. Say we kind of want a mid-sized school as well. To be, we prefer that a little bit less than smaller schools. Average starting salary, again, we enter 20%, and for full-time graduates employed at graduation, a high percentage of that, we gave that 20%. So this is kind of a tease, kind of a preview in terms of what our top 5 preferences are, given the preferences that we just entered. So right now we have UVA, NYU, Dartmouth, Harvard, and University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill as our top 5. So these are what we'll use preferences going forward. So the next step is to input profile.
So from this point forward, then you would move towards looking at your profile. So let's enter an anonymous student's profile. And once again, you must always enter a number. You enter 710, not a great GPA. he wasn't serious in school. And let's say he had 40 months worth of experience. Is it okay? And what you see right here now, the tool is moving towards matching your profile against the comparative profile of the student bodies at each school in the top 25. What you see here, the U.S. News ranking system of 1 to 25, and your position in their distribution of their students. So if you see 20, let's do an example. If you see 26%, that means that you fall at the 26% percentile of the Stanford University's student body distribution based on the profile characteristics we include in our tool, GMAT, GPA, and work experience. We've also included for you a dynamic view of your profile versus the U.S. News ranking charts, which you can click on. What this does is it compares each of your characteristics from GMAT, GPA, work experience separately against those of the mean scores of the schools in the top 20, in the top 10. That's the GPA, and this is the mean work experience, to give you some example of where you compare against the mean. Also, what we have done is on this side is provide a dynamic data table for you to give you some sensitivity analysis. Let's say here, click down and choose which school you're interested in looking at. Let's choose Duke. What you see with this is click to begin analysis button. You get a sensitivity analysis of how your rank in your position in the distribution for Duke would change as your GMAT score increases, or the number of your work, or the number of months that you have worked increases. This is just to give you a sense of maybe whether you want to take the GMAT again, and how much the possible returns on that initial effort would be. Next, what we have done is then provide a next step, which we will then look into your preferences. And this now takes you into the schools are now ranked by your preference ranking. So once again, we've kind of used the scores that we gained from your preference choices and rank the schools from 1 to 25. And on this side, you see the associated probability of where you fall in each school's distribution of their student body. So this kind of gives you a different view, a same kind of marker, but a different view in terms of the school preference versus the U.S. News ranking. What you see is also now a chart that shows your your profile against the means of your top 10 preferred schools. Very similar in spirit to the last chart we showed you, but this is just your preferred schools instead of the top 10 U.S. News ranking. Lastly, now what we have done is provide a cutoff rule, a threshold that you can enact. Let's say you just wanted to look at schools that you have about a 50% or let's say 40% chance of probability of falling in that student distribution. There we go. So as you see, what's happened now is the only schools that are available at your view are those that you have a 40% chance or better of falling in that student probability distribution of each school's profile. So this is just kind of gives you more views of your preferences and your profile against these schools. Now we use this tool and we really wanted to make it very easy for the user to use and move through. So what you'll also notice is we have an assortment of back buttons, which either can take you back one space to where you were before if you want to change or do some other looks, or can even take you back to the intro with one click.